Hey guys, this is MJ back from MJD Sports. Back with this second installment of the Flex offense. The first time we were together, we talked about the basic alignment and looking at the post. Now, I told you on the first video, there are anywhere from 14 to 20 options on this. It depends on how many you want to do. I've read books where they say there's 13 options, but I have discovered others through the years that other people have run. In our first installment, we basically covered options 1 and 2. One is your basic entry looking for the post. The post should always be the first person you look for. If you do that, you keep the defense honest. It gets them side fronting. That is, to me, option number one, your post. Option number two is your guard dribbles to the elbow, throws over here to number 4. That's just your regular entry. That's how most people start the flex offense. Quite frankly, most people neglect to look at the post. And to be fair, my teams are guilty of that too. Now, what do you do if your guard dribbles to the wing? And again, looks at the post is covered. That's option 1. Looks at number 4, 4 is covered. This is the easiest thing in the world to take away, is to overplay. I always tell my kids, hey, maybe try to walk your man in a step or two and then bust up to the elbow. But this pass to get the offense started is extremely tough to get in there. There are ways to combat that. We'll talk about that later on. You can start with 2 guys high. Just depends. But let's pretend for the argument of this, or for the sake of argument, 5's covered, 4 is covered. So now what do? Now you do what we call, which is option number 3, wing entry. Now there are going to be 2, 3 different ways to enter the ball to the wing. This is just a regular wing entry, throwing the ball to the wing. If you've hurt people with the post pass 2 or 3 times, 3's man will a lot of times begin to sag. As you dribble here, he's going to pinch a little bit to kind of help make sure your guard doesn't drive. He's also trying to help down here on number 5. So you throw to number 3 on the wing entry. If that happens, excuse me, I tell my kids the rule of thumb is if you throw the ball to the wing, you immediately screen down. And that is literally the one rule of thumb that we have for the flex offense. 1 is going to screen down. Now here we have 1 screening to the outside because we're assuming, again, 5 was covered at the post, couldn't be thrown to, so that defender is either side fronting or fronting. So 1 screens down, 5 pops up. 3 now has this option, and I'm going to back this up a step or 2. It is amazing to me, and I've seen it 2 million times, when 1 screens down and 5 starts to pop up, for whatever reason, 1 is open 75 to 80% of the time at the blocks. That's why on this frame, 1 is an option to throw to. It might not always happen, but it happens far more often than you give it credit. And you know, just yesterday in practice, we were working on the flex, and I had the same kid shoot 3 layups right here because the defense kept wanting to help up on 5. So that's just something you got to be aware of. Now let's talk about number 4 here, the post that popped up to the elbow. 4 pops up in, well, here you go, this frame, but the ball's thrown out here. When that happens, 4 has to turn around and kind of walk his man back down the lane. The reason is because here I'm old and fat. If 4 just stands there, I could guard number 4. So you want 4 to turn and walk his man down a little bit. Some coaches have 2 and 4 exchange. I was never a big fan of that. But I just always had 4, turn and walk your man back down like you are now out of the play. The defense that's on him will start helping off because the ball's on the wing, so on and so forth. And then when the ball is thrown back to number 5 after the screen down, 1 screens down for 5, 5 pops up the elbow, we throw the ball to 5. Now 4, and I didn't diagram it here, I should have. 4 is then going to break back to the elbow. Now, originally I told you when 4 initially breaks to the elbow, it's easy to cover him. He's probably going to be covered. In this scenario, quite frankly, 4 is always open. And so I think some of that has to do with the action away from the ball, looking at number 1, and his man's going to stay away and help. So when he breaks, he's going to be open. Now, we're not talking he's going to be open for 5 minutes. He's going to be open by a couple of steps for a second or so. And that's about it. So when the ball goes to 5, 5 needs to immediately pass it to 4. And then if you'll notice, now we're back in our alignment. 1 back screen, 5 down screen, 3 runs the flex cut, 1's going to pop up, 5's going to pop out. Okay, when 1 pops up, now again on this particular frame we didn't show it, but 5's going to reverse the ball to 1. Now 3 back screen, 4 is going to down screen, 2 is going to run the flex cut. After 4 screens down, 3 will pop up, 4 will pop out. And again, this is the wing entry option of your flex offense. And again, it's really the third option. But the first 2 are actually run every single time you run the flex offense. And the wing entry is also not something that you have to call in advance. As my kids are coming down the court, I don't say, hey, let's run flex, look at your post, let's run flex, let's just do our regular entry, or let's run flex and let's do the wing entry. Those 3 options are actually run by your team, just reading what the defense is giving them. There are going to be other options coming up that you do call, but the wing entry is not one. I hope you guys enjoyed this second video. Again, give me a like, give me a subscribe, and be coming out with a third video here in just a little bit.